Good evening. Welcome once again to this week's episode of It's My Turn Now, where everyone gets an opportunity to just express yourself, let us know what's on your mind. For the month of February, where we're dealing with the subject of health, wellness, and financial security. On last week, we talked about family husband who donated a kidney to his wife. We had a wife to donate her kidney to her husband. And so today we're talking about finances as well as a number of other subjects. But we're so glad to have Miss Regina Warren, who will be on here today. And she's going to talk to us regarding financial legacy, your legacy and financial planning, retirement, and beyond. She involved in a number of different things. So if you have your questions, she's willing to answer any questions that you have. And I think anytime you have opportunity to be able to share information of financial security, I think is important, especially in the times that we're living in. There's so many challenges. The environment is changing. The demographics are changing, and so we want to be able to move with the changes. Shirley Walden says, "Praise the Lord, everyone. God bless you, Sister Shirley." Also, want to make sure that you share. Hit that share button, and let others know that It's My Turn Now is on the air. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring on Miss Warren. Welcome to It's My Turn Now, Miss Warren.
Hello, hello, hello. It's my turn now, and I am
It's,
super excited to be here today. So, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Walton.
and we're glad to have you on. As we said earlier, you are very involved in finances, financial helping individuals become more financially secure for their legacy, for their future. But just tell us a little bit about yourself before you go any further, because you're involved in so many things. We were talking previously something you did with Junior Achievement, which I remember that when I was in high school, which was many years ago, and they're still doing things with it. Tell us a little about that, and then you can go and share it with us much whatever you want to share with us.
Yep. So, BizTown is probably the high school portion that you're talking about. But what they do, and they do a really good job of it, they honor a lot of the adults in the community that are doing a heavy lift with youth in the community,
Hmm.
be it through membership or mentorship, or just making sure that they have a hand on youth development. And so they focus in the different industries to say, hey, you are making an extreme career in financial services, in government, in legal, all the things, all the different industries, which is very important for young kids to see, hey, this is my career path. This person is actually living that. And so they give out awards, and the awards are called Best and Brightest. And so I had the honor of being awarded the top 10% in my field. And at that time, it was government as a major in the Army. So I
Awesome.
appreciate that recognition as well. Yeah.
Okay. So you've actually received a number of different awards. If anyone has the opportunity to look at your resume, you have a lot of things that you have your hands in, which is very good, especially um, for such a young person, very young, young, not real young, but you're a very young person who has invested in a lot and got a lot of experience. When I began to start reading, you involved in a lot. So just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, so I grew up here in Indianapolis, Indiana. Lived on the Far East Side. Growing up, I really appreciate the experiences that I've met with, from friends and challenges to all the different things that we went through. Those that came up on the Far East Side, 42nd and Post. Truly appreciate that, and my mother, who just really did a really good job, and of course the support system from family. But that took me to Indiana University, where I went to Bloomington there and just studied in kinesiology. I then went to the Army. Of course, I've been in the Army for 24 years. People will say I look like I'm 24 already. I take that as a compliment. I am in my 40s. That being said, I went to Iraq, served the country there in a finance capacity, and then I went to Indiana Wesleyan to receive my master's. With my MBA, I actually did that on my second tour as well. So I did that simultaneously as I was in Afghanistan. So I've
Wow.
been deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Yep, and then got my master's from Indiana Wesleyan, my MBA. And with that, in 2016, I have 4 boys. My husband is a microbiologist and an entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, him and I, we do a lot in the community with the Taste of Indy. We also, mentor kids in the Market Square Popcorn, which is the popcorn shop that we own in Castleton Mall. And then myself with financial literacy. So making sure that I take it upon myself, using my own time, resources to educate youth about, how to manage their funds, invest early, taking charge of their wealth, equity, just really jumping in on those things that should have been talked about. Sometimes they get overlooked. And it's not just the youth. Sometimes it's also with adults as well, making sure we prepare for retirement while we're in retirement. How do we distribute? How do we take care of the things that we have, asset allocation and management and all the things. That being said, as a financial advisor, I do all of those holistic planning things, really focus on the actual person. I don't have clients, I have partners, I have friends, I have those that I look out for with their financial management and able to manage their funds for them. And so I don't take it lightly. What we do in the community is very, very big. I've worked with organizations like Community Action of Greater Indianapolis, several different high schools, Avon, North Central. I talk to different BSUs. I go back to IU Bloomington. I'm currently partnered with Northwestern Mutual, and in that capacity, I'm a college unit director. So I continue to help future entrepreneurs build their business. And so I just what I do. And honestly, a lot of it is a labor of love. Hey, Rose. But really just.
She says, good evening, guys, and welcome to Jen and Warren. Great people. Then she tells you also, thanks for serving. But before we go further, like I said, you're involved in so much, and we have to kind of break it down. First, you mentioned that you had a degree or you studied kinesiology. Is that what you said? Did I pronounce it?
Kinesiology, yep.
Yeah, pronounce it. I'm doing good pronounce it. So, but tell those who may not know what that is, tell them what that's about.
Kinesiology, honestly, it was a very short-lived career. I initially always wanted to help other people. And I'm a social science type of person, which is why I love financial literacy. But for kinesiology, it was a study of how the body moves, physical therapy, it's a pre-physical therapy major, athletic trainer, sports medicine, just understanding how the body moves and how I can help. So I fell in love with that career when I was a cheerleader at Arlington. And as a cheerleader, we had an athletic trainer at Arlington. I mean, believe it or not, Arlington did have athletic trainers and had a paid career there. And so with that said, I fell in love with her. She mentored us. And so that was some of the things that I wanted to do. I knew that was in my heart to always mentor others. And so I fell in love with, I guess, more of the mentorship and the leadership side of it. And that led me to go get my MBA from Indiana Wesleyan and then further along my leadership skills that way.
So we fellow alumni. I got my marriage and family therapy from Indiana Wesleyan as well.
Oh, okay. Congratulations. Yeah.
So you've been active all your life, even as a cheerleader in high school. So you've been pretty active.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So also, one thing you said, and I want to ask, as far as investing, when is the right time to invest? Because how young should you consider starting to invest? Because most of us, unfortunately, don't do it, or some of us or we feel as though we don't have the resources. Where I'm sure you'll share with us that you can set a certain amount of time, money aside.
Absolutely. As soon as you get a bank account, you should start investing. And I know I had a bank account at like 16. Nowadays, they have Cash App. And Cash App has the ability to do different investments. Just read through it. Make sure you understand the fees and all the different fine print on there. And you can always work with a financial advisor to make sure you're invested in the right things. It's important to understand investments and how it works. Put your money in, optimize, grow, but understand the thorough process in the operations. You put your money in, how does it work? How does it grow? The company that you're investing in if you're doing individual stocks. But what about mutual funds? What is the asset allocation in that mutual fund? What are you supporting, right? Nowadays, we're very conscious about what we're supporting, which you should be.
Okay.
You should
I'm,
at this
I'm going to say this
and
right.
that.
You have given a lot of information. And so because you're comfortable with this right here, I'm going to play the advocate of those people who are just kind of having a maybe take a little more time to digest what
Yeah,
you said about mutual funds, various types of funds. Also, Janie Brown says, praise the Lord. She says,
praise the Lord.
hey, Regina. So it's
Hey,
like everybody, like they know you. And so,
hey, how's it
you know,
going?
as far as investing, um,
Mhm.
again, you said start when you're young, possibly when you're young, having it. Because what about the person who says, I like to invest, I just don't have the money to invest? What would you tell that person?
Definitely work. This is where I say work with a financial advisor,
Hmm.
because I don't want you to put that hard-earned money into any old thing and get scammed. Okay. You
Right,
have to understand what you're putting your money into. How much can you invest? Honestly, it depends on your pocket and what you can do and what your goals are, right?
right,
So everybody wants to invest, but nobody has goals. What is the goal? What is the
right,
goal? So you have to figure out, well, is it to retire? Is it to save for a house, maybe a car? Maybe it's just to grow money so you can use it later on for an emergency, right? So there's so many different things that you should be thinking through, but it should not be your absolute only thing that you do with your money, because
right.
once the market goes down, now you're upside down, right? So we have to
Exactly.
make sure that we have multiple things and multiple assets, not just stock and equity.
Put all your eggs in one basket. What you're saying, you don't want to do that.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. Don't do that. Don't do that. You have to have a little bit here, a little bit there, because if the market goes up, a lot of other things are going down. But as the market
right,
goes down, a lot of other things are going up. So you
exactly.
have to know where you're at in your portfolio.
And there's some people who deal with, what they say, greater risk, greater yield, low risk, low yield. Is that correct?
Mhm.
So,
In some cases, right? Yep, I love that question. In some cases, you have um high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward, right?
mhm,
And that's what that's talking about is the classification. So you may have like risk tolerance. So conservative, low risk, low reward, but someone who's an aggressive and like the high growth is going to face high risk at some point. No one times the market absolute, right? So we don't know what the market is going to be tomorrow. So we just have to prepare ourselves. That being said, you should not have everything in the market. And I love Rose's question. Rose's question was like, what's the difference between saving and investing? Very good question, because you should be doing both. And there's a couple of things that you can do. How much money you should have in both is really dependent on your cash flow. So when you meet with me, what I do is we go through budget. We create your budget. I give you a nice little budget sheet, and we'll go through it together. And the reason why is because I need to find the money to help you kind of understand some of the philosophies around saving, philosophies around investing, why we do it, what your goals are. I need to understand you. Okay. Now, with that said, in your plan, we can figure out how much needs to go to saving,
mhm.
how much needs to go to investing. When it comes to that different type of equation and all the formulas that come with it, and I'll go through all of that as an advisor, what I'm saying is in order to figure out how much to save and how much to invest really depends on your cash flow. Should you do both? Yes, you should do both. You should
Is
do both.
is there is there
Should you have all your money in your savings account? No.
is there a percentage of your income that you should consider investing?
A lot of people go off of the 60-20-20. So 60% of the money that you earn should be going to your living expenses. This is the things like house, car, the things that you absolutely need, right? Food, the things that you need.
Yeah.
60% of your earned income needs to go to your living expenses. 20% needs to go to like savings and investing. And then 20% goes to the things you want, right? Because I mean, we do want nice things, but we just need to budget that, right? How much do I need to spend on my hair, on my nails, the things that we like to do? What is it? Male grooming and all the things, right? Like you have to know the clothes. These are the wants, right? We don't necessarily need, red bottom shoes, right? We don't
Exactly.
necessarily need Stacey Adams, but we budget for it, right? That
Mhm.
being said, the formula is 60% living expenses, 20% goes to saving and investing, and then 20% goes to the discretionary or your wants. You can still have fun with your money. We just have to budget for it. And so, what I do is I help you kind of figure that out and then make sure that we can actually get to those buckets because honestly, not everyone is at 60, 20, 20. And that's
Yeah.
okay. That's another thing I want to make sure we stress is that you don't have to be like it today. Optimal budget is 60, 20, 20. Not everybody is there. Not everybody is there. Okay. And that's okay. We'll figure it out together.
Yeah. So, and also, shouldn't they have a emergency fund? Because a lot of times, especially where
Uh-huh.
we live in now, people getting laid off, and you
Uh-huh.
should. I remember when I worked at AT&T before I retired. There are people if they were looking at check if they didn't get a half hour overtime. I mean, you would think they lost $50,000. I mean, they would just like fall apart because they depended on that. So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So your emergency fund should be about 3 to 6 months of
mm,
your living expenses. So if it costs you about 3,000 to run your household, you need to save 3,000 times 3 or 6 in your
these
savings or your emergency fund. The
six.
importance of that, yeah, 3 to 6 months. The
Mm,
importance of that is, yeah, like you just said, things come up. I mean, we don't expect our car to break down, but it may. We don't expect the water heater to go out, but it may. So being able to take care of those miscellaneous things
mhm.
with your emergency fund is paramount. Those are one of the things that bust our budget all the time. And then we're trying to catch up and then we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right?
Right.
Because there was some big emergency. We didn't have nothing saved.
Exactly.
And it blew our budget.
I had a situation like that happen. My wife, she took ill. I had to take off about a year, and I was actually had prepared for this. So I was able to do it. People say, "How are you able to do that?" But you again, it's knowing your priorities in life. Donata
Mhm.
Campbell says, "Hello, great topic. Are you just an advisor or a fiduciary?" Good question.
Um, yeah. So I'm a fiduciary. I'm a registered representative, um, an advisor that can do investments and holistic planning.
Very good.
So I
And so,
have Series 663. Yep. Mhm.
okay, that sounds good. Again, you guys are the brightest of the brightest, but we have to break this down for everybody doesn't know what the fiduciary is, or
Yeah, let's do it. Let's break it
what each,
down.
what each person's role would
Where's the
be.
questions at? I'm ready to answer.
No, no, no. I'm saying
I'm
even
sorry.
this question right here, you want she wants to know which is advisor, which is are you advisor or fiduciary. So maybe you can share with us what's the difference between the advisor and the fiduciary.
Well, I just kind of explained it where I'm a registered representative. I'm registered to practice financial services
Mhm.
and investments and life and health. So I do holistic planning. I do risk management. I do a holistic approach to creating a personalized plan. My
Mhm.
fiduciary responsibility is to make sure I know who I am working with to give you something that's personalized for you. So
Okay.
abiding by a lot of the compliance to make sure that I deliver what is required per FINRA, per whatever regulations that we need to follow. That being said, I'm licensed and registered
Okay.
to make sure that I can do investments and risk management.
So
So
that's what
yes.
I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about because uh, you know everyone is not familiar with those terms, and so we want to make sure that everyone is able to do it. One of the things that I found out
So
is that
a fiduciary is a legal is it's a legal obligation.
responsibility.
Um, exactly. And so that's why I said I was registered representative. Yep.
I knew what you
Well,
said, but like I said, I won't add as much.
yeah, that's what it is. Yep.
Yes.
An advisor, meaning that I just give advice, right?
Great,
I just give um
good
great
advice.
guidance, right? That's it.
Great advice.
Which is awesome. And we can strategically plan all day long, but that's why you need to work with someone who's a registered representative to make sure that they have also the compliance to follow behind them. Um, and that's about it. I think we explained it really good.
If there's someone that doesn't understand, feel free to say, "Hey, I want some more information." It's up to you.
Absolutely. If someone says, can you prove your credentials? Because as a fiduciary, you should be proving your credentials. And that's where the registration comes from. So if you need my registrations, let me know. All my disclosures are also on my website too. So you can go to reginawarren.nm.com. That's novembermike.com. So reginawarren.nm.com, and you can see the disclosures there. Okay.
What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to put the link on here. If anybody wants to come on live, you have a question, you want to come on live,
Please
what's
do.
your question, and you want to be seen as well as heard, click the link there I just sent you, and you can come on live. We'll be glad to, answer your question. Make sure you come on. Make sure you're presentable when you come on. We don't, too far off the chain, but no, if you click that link, we will be able to see. A lot of times, Regina, I have people come and say, "Oh, I didn't know there's some able to see me." So I'm telling you right now, if you click that link, you will be seen.
You will be seen. Gotcha. Yep.
If you do not want to be seen as you are, don't click the link. But if you have no problem with that, I think it's okay. I remember I didn't really start investing when, as a kid, we used to invest in savings bonds. That was a big thing back in. Someone wants over there that's back in the 60s. That's how old I am. Back in the 60s, savings bonds was the biggest thing, and we would do it in school, and they would give awards for the incentives to save that. But when it wasn't until I was working at AT&T, I had a boss that she said, "Mr. Anthony, I'm going to make you." She got the form for me to take a certain portion of my income when I got paid, direct deposit out of my check before I got paid, and I was kind of hesitant, but when she did it, she encouraged me to do it. And once I did, it was one of the best decisions, because if you can take your money out before you see it, it's much easier. It's much easier to deal with it. What do you think about that?
I believe it. Out of sight, out of mind. A lot of times with investments, you want to make sure that you are putting it in a trustworthy position. But then also, you're not checking it every single day, right? So when you do investments, you're in it for the long term, long run. Doesn't mean that you have to keep it in there for 20 plus years. You can do a non-qualified account and do like a mutual fund. But a retirement account, of course, you need to keep it in until you're 59 and a half. And so you don't face that 10% penalty. I say all of that to say, when you invest, it's for the long haul. If you look at it, the market is actually positive 73% of the time in 1 year. So you keep your money in there, it's usually positive 73% of the time in 1 year. Imagine keeping it in there for 5 years. Now it's positive 83% of the time. Let's say you keep it in for 10 to 15 years. Now it can be positive 100% of the time. What does that mean? That means you're in investments for the long run. Can you come in and out of the market? Yeah, you can do that. However, are you winning? Did you get the results you wanted? Because again, I just said that if you keep it in for 1 year, it's positive 73% of the time.
Now, Rose,
so you want to keep your money in there as long as you can, and then look into other things like dividends and other things. It says, so are you on a legal document when you invest? And if so, can you pull out from what you invested in if an emergency comes up? It depends on what type of investment you're invested into. So if you're in a 401k, 457, 403b, one of the retirement accounts, if you're in a retirement account, then most likely you should not. I corrected myself. You can, but you should not take your money out because you're going to face a 10% penalty. And depending on which retirement account you're invested in, you may have to pay taxes. So that being said, can you take your money out? Yeah, you can take your money out. There's penalties, especially with the retirement account. If
And
you're
if you
under 59 and a half.
Say if you take the money out too soon and all the money that you have in there, you could possibly lose all that money, and so you defeat your purpose.
So it's not necessarily that you lose the money that's in there, right? So if I have $1,000 invested into just a general brokerage account, it's not a retirement account. It's just an ordinary brokerage mutual fund, right? And I have my money in there, and it's $1,000 that I put in there, right? If I take out $500, right? Whatever whatever growth I had in that account, I had to face whatever taxes was on that growth. Okay.
Right.
So when you say, are there any penalties from taking it out? You have to face whatever tax structure that mutual fund is in. And you need to think about what type of tax structure, because there's such thing as short-term gain tax and also long-term gain tax. So meaning if I take it out under 12 months, I have one tax bracket that I'm in. If I take it over 12 months of being invested, then I have another bracket that I'm in. Either way, I'm gonna have some kind of maybe tax structure or some kind of like penalty if it's a retirement account. Just work with the professional to make sure you know what you're doing. That's the only thing I've always stressed is don't try to do these things on your own because we think that we can, and we heard somebody do it on YouTube and they're not a fiduciary, right? So you need to make sure you talk to someone who's a registered representative that understand how it goes. Okay. But yes, when you take your money out, you definitely can. Just make sure you understand the taxes and whatever penalties you have to face.
Denai says, how are your fees calculated and at what percentage? Do you also provide tax guidance? What are your thoughts on IRA conversions? Okay, I'm done now. That's all right.
Let me break it down. So I think if you could put the question back up there, please. I think, yep. So how are your fees calculated? So our fees are calculated based on, we're basically brokers, right? So I deal with different mutual funds, Fidelity, Principal, BlackRock. So we partner with those different funds in order to figure out what their funds, their rates are. And that's how we come up with our fees. Okay. In many cases, you should not be any kind of investment that is over 1.5% in fees. That's a very high fee to be a 1.5%. So when you're doing your research and you're digging deep into whatever investment you want to go into, just keep that in mind. I don't want to go over 1.5. Are there funds out there like that? There are, but they're structured differently and they offer different rewards. So just know what you're getting into. If you're an ordinary investor, I always suggest try to stay away from anything over 1.5% in fees. Okay. And then do you also provide tax guidance? I give an overview of taxes. I am not a CPA. I have great CPA friends. I know my lane. I work with CPAs because we work together. I'm the strategic part of it. I'm the fiduciary part of it. And they have their own fiduciary responsibilities as well. That being said, I do not do taxes. I don't create, none of it because I'm not a tax person. However, in order to hold the licenses, I have to understand a basic overview of how taxes are affected if they do investments, such as the short-term gains and the long-term gains and all the other things that come with when I move money and how that could affect my client with taxes. So I understand the overview of it. And then what are your thoughts on IRA conversions? When you say IRA conversions, I'm assuming you're talking about backdoor Roth or you're talking about traditional to Roth. When it comes to traditional accounts, it means that it's usually a pre-tax right? A pre-tax contribution, meaning that they took this money, like you said earlier, Dr. Walton, they took this money off of my check before I even received my taxes, before I paid my taxes. That's a pre-tax contribution, meaning it's a traditional, meaning I didn't pay taxes today, so I should report less taxes when I'm doing my IRS or I'm doing my income taxes for the year. Your Roth or your post-tax contributions, meaning I already paid taxes on this money that I'm putting into this investment. And so this money is growing tax deferred. Okay. That being said, those are the major differences of IRAs. You can have a traditional IRA and you can have a Roth IRA as well. But that's the major difference with those, without getting all the way into the weeds.
So also part of your fiduciary responsibility was to inform the guests there that you do not go into accounting, and that's part of you.
I do not. Regina is not an
That's what
accountant.
I'm saying that's what you're doing.
Totally
You were showing your fiduciary responsibility to let
right.
the client know I don't deal with that.
I don't do that.
I don't act like I do, but I can refer you.
No, I cannot even act like it, because I'm telling you up front, I know what I do may affect taxes, and those are the things that I understand is the overview of taxes. I keep my clients updated through articles and Life and Money and different things that are produced through Northwestern Mutual to make sure you have the right and updated information from our experts as a team. However, we are not accountants.
Okay, very good. I think you got that clear. This is Deborah Menora says, when you take money out, you're losing the opportunity for that money to work for you.
Absolutely. That's why I love that one. Absolutely. Because the philosophy of investments is to keep it in as long as you can. Because you win as you ride the wave. Let's make our money work for us. I'm in the military, right? So I call dollars soldiers. And so I always say this little soldier is going to recruit more soldiers, right? Because we on this battlefield of finances. So we need to win this war of financial planning, right? So with that said, I keep my soldiers invested as long as I can so they can recruit more dollars. And there's a couple of things that you're thinking and you kind of want to basically beat inflation. Inflation usually, and it's something that the Feds want to target, and it's 2.24% inflation is the targeted inflation rate that they want to reach. Now, COVID and all these other things affect the interest rate. I say all that to say, when you invest, keep it in as long as you can so you can beat things like inflation. Your money can work for you. Grow your money. Make the money work for you to get you more dollars. And in my case, I call them soldiers. Let your soldiers go recruit more soldiers so we can win this financial war.
The question, I think back in the 80s, a lot of people lost a lot of money. The stock had problems. What was it, 2000, around 2008 or so? And so the question is, what's that? I hear what you say.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, when do you know when to stay in and when maybe a time that maybe I may have to pull out?
I'm gonna say definitely follow like Forbes, follow if you're that interested in what the market is doing and the trends again the market. Okay. With that said, it will give you different trends on where they think the analysis is going for the market. That's the best you will ever actually have, because we can always analyze and assume where the market is going to go. We don't know exactly where it's going to go because there's several different risks, such as consumer risk, business risk, political risk, and I can go on and on and on. With that said, there's too many other factors that affects the market. That being said, I have a weekly commentator, and if anybody's interested to jump on board and have that sent to them, send me a message, send me your email, and I will definitely have you added so you can get that commentary and see the trends of the market and where it's going, and analysis of where we think the market is going. No one is exact. Warren Buffett, nobody is exact on the market because all the risk I just mentioned.
Right. Can you put in the comment your how to contact you if they want to? At some point, you can either do it now or you can do it after the program's on.
Absolutely.
That way they'll know how. Okay, next question. I'll ask the next question. Those that are watching, you have questions, feel free. There's no sense to me. My theory is there's no such thing as a bad question. Because if you don't know the answer, sometimes I remember when I was in school, I'd be in lecture lab and people be afraid to ask a question. I said, well, I'm going to ask a question because I don't know the answer. But once I ask it, I'll know the answer next time. So there's no such thing as a bad question. So feel free. So question, when is the best time? They say, what, buy low and sell high? When do you know it's a good time to, if you see some stock, and I'm sure your advisor will advise you to when is the best time to invest?
Yup. The best time to invest, I think that holds true. The quote of buy low, sell high, right? I think that still stands. So I've been on different, like Yahoo Finance is really good on keeping up with trends for the market. You can follow that as well. You can get some really good advice from there. You can also get some good advice from Forbes. You can also get some really good advice from, again, that weekly commentary I said that I have as well. With that said, it is very hard to guess because of all the different risks that go are and associated with the investment. So you want to make sure that you keep up with the company that you're interested in. And I'm going to tell you why. Because people forget that equity in stocks is you're invested into the company. Mm-hmm. You have to understand who you are individually buying into. What are their business operations? How are they functioning? What's their revenue? What is their margin? Is so many different factors that you have to follow and understand in order to guess when's the best time to buy that stock. Okay. So I always suggest, especially those that are ordinary investors, those that are beginning investors, to invest into mutual funds. And the reason why is because the mutual fund is already thought about, well, these companies in this mutual fund fit such and such criteria. And if one of them go down, hopefully the other ones will stay afloat, right? We don't know. The point is I have multiple assets in this group, and hopefully I can get more wins out of this group than that one investment. Okay. So just keep that in mind, that you definitely look forward to following the company that you're investing in. Equity stocks, they're corporate, municipal, there's all different types. But what I'm saying is follow. If you want to invest in one specific stock, remember it's a company. And that company has to have good business and make revenue in order to give you a good return on your share. So because you're a shareholder now, right? You're a stockholder now. So you need to make sure you understand how that company is running. Okay. Now, the reason why I pull out and I say, hey, don't go, if you are new, start looking into fund groups. Okay. Look into mutual funds that have multiple assets, not just one stock. Okay. Especially if you are newer to investing. Oh, it says, why are Black people afraid to invest?
Before we get this question, how will they do that? They have to follow the investor's portfolio, their record. How would they do that? Just tell them how would they.
What do you mean?
You said they need to know what the company's doing, the operation, how they're managing.
Yep. So go to my best advice is
how did they get the information though?
Go to Yahoo Finance. If you are interested to do if you want to know how a specific stock is performing, There's several different ones that are analyzing these different stocks to see how they're doing. It can give you an analysis. Another thing I said earlier was if you need more details and you want to go into, the eaches on all the investments and different things, let's talk about it, because it's only so much that I can give to an individual case by case versus to the masses, right? So to the masses, I can say, and these are the philosophies on investments for individual stocks and individual mutual funds. Now we need to actually set up a meeting. We need to talk. If you want to do the research on your own, use things like Moody's, use things like Yahoo Finance, use things that are actually doing the research publicly, and they can give you more of analysis on that individual stocks. Because what they're doing is they're looking at the business operations, they're looking at how they're functioning, they're looking at what risks they're going to be added, what political environment we're in, all these different factors. So do your research, go to Yahoo Finance, go to, you can go to just about any fund group and they will also give you some analysis as well. One of the things I said earlier is if you want to link up, what I can do is I can give you what we have, a weekly commentary that will give you analysis on where the market is going, some assumptions, some things to kind of help you have clarity on some things. But again, remember, these are the advisory things that we can offer.
And I'm sure you'll leave the information.
One of the questions.
I'm sure you'll leave the information here how they can contact.
Yeah, so I was trying to get into your. Yep, I was trying to get into your chat. It's not letting me in, so I can give you my information.
Okay.
And then if you want to put it in
after it's over with as well.
Okay, awesome. I can go ahead and rattle it off now.
Say that question. So Rose said, "Why are Black people afraid to invest? Asking for a friend." Help yourself.
So I'm gonna go ahead and give my email really quick. Is regina.warren@nm.com. And that's novembermike.com. So regina.warren@nm.com. Or you can go to my website. It's Regina Warren, all one word, .nm.com. And you can also kind of see all the disclosures and get some more answers too if you need individual things. But I'll tell you this, I love Deborah's approach.
Regina Warren.
I love Deborah's approach where she says, give me 1 second. I love Deborah's approach. She said, Ms. Warren seems to be a person who will work with you for your comfort level so you will be able to sleep and rest at night. Absolutely, Ms. Deborah, for sure. Because you should be working with an advisor, a professional, a fiduciary who can actually explain some things for you, and not in a public setting like this, more on an individual level. And that leads me into what Ms. Rose was asking earlier. Ms. Rose said, and I think you just read it, Dr. Walton, about making sure.
I'm trying to type it in for you.
I think I'm having some disconnecting issues.
Yeah, I think there's a delay between us. Regina Warren. I'm trying to type in your
yes, reginawarren.nm.com.
What now? What?
.com. So Regina Warren, all one word, .nm.com.
Okay. Oh, that's your email. Okay.
So I gave you, there we go. Yep, that's the website. That's the website. And then there's a couple other, there's an email. I can give you an email, or even you could text me as well, and I can give that a little bit later. But so when it comes to money and having the fear, and I've been posting about this lately because I've been feeling some type of way, Ms. Rose, about it, because it's very common for our community to be very apprehensive to money management, and for a lot of reasons, right? It's not like we just want to be scared to have money. There's a history to why we feel that way. But to skip the history lesson and get right to what you can do today, honestly, money does create stress for several different reasons, because it's a form of power. And I can get into a physiological thing all over. But what I want you to take away from this is if you are having that anxiety and you are having that fear around money, definitely get with somebody on a one-on-one area and just talk about it. Hey, this is how I'm feeling. I have anxiety. I don't want to think about money. A lot of people don't even want to look at their budget. A lot of people start to feel they sweat and they get overwhelmed by just thinking about all the bills. And it's so many, and all of that. There's nothing wrong with that. That just means that there's some things we need to talk about. It could be trauma related. But at the end of the day, when you're sitting with somebody one-on-one, honestly, I have a lot of therapeutic sessions. I am not a therapist, but I will definitely sit and I will listen, because I realized that what we went through as a Black and brown population and community, we went through a lot. And so there's a lot that you have to unload in that conversation, and that is okay. Let's unload it, because I want you to face it head on. I want you to say, yep, I have an anxiety with some money. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that information and I'm going to create you even more personalized plan. And we're going to phase plan it. We're going to say phase 1, boom, we're going to do this. Then after that, then we're going to do phase 2. Then we're going to do phase 3. And what I'm doing with that is I'm trying to help us baby step into the overall, this is where your money is going. We're going to have some in savings. We're going to have some in investing. We're going to have some over here and over there. And you're going to look back and you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I did all these things. Right. And that's all because 1, we faced it. We acknowledged it. 2, you met with somebody who can actually coach you through it and that can execute it. So coaching is different from executing, because as a fiduciary, I can execute all the things that I'm talking about. Okay. So we'll acknowledge it. We'll come up with a plan and we'll phase plan it. We'll figure out where we need to go. And each person is different. Nobody is the same. Also, so that's how we face it. Why are a lot of Black people? Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. Walton.
Yes, also, I think it's important sometimes not to invest more than what you feel comfortable with. I think that's what creates anxiety. You have to know what your comfort level is. If you invest at your comfort level, there's going to be less anxiety.
Mm-hmm. It's also the lack of education, right? And it's not necessarily our fault as individuals. We just weren't privy to those type of conversations and literacy. And that is okay. That's why I'm here. A lot of people see me in the community. I share so many things on purpose, on different panels, different conversations on purpose, because I want to educate you so you can feel more comfortable, right? When you feel more comfortable, it alleviates some of that stress. It's kind of like when you're afraid of the dark. As soon as you turn on the light, you're not as afraid. So that's why I share a lot of education, because right now we're in the dark, and that's why we're afraid to invest. And so if I can educate you, if I can share some things with you, if I can walk you through the phases, it kind of opens you up a little bit to say, oh, okay, I'm a little bit more comfortable. And then a lot of people think that they need like thousands of dollars to invest. Y'all know you do not need thousands of dollars to invest. I love what Dr. Walton said when he said you have to be comfortable with it. So if it's $25 a month to get you comfortable, let's do that. Eventually we'll get up to 500. We'll get up to 1,000. We'll get up to 25,000 if you're a business owner a month. And remember, it's your money. A lot of people think that they're putting it into a mutual fund and they forget it is still your money. Like, you're not losing it. It is there. It's in this account. It's doing whatever it needs to do in that account.
Right. It says, Jamie says, are all 401ks taxable, for instance, in a Fidelity investment? And do we have options not to pay taxes? Very good question.
Very good question. Depends on the structure of it. If it's a traditional account or if it's a Roth account. There's Roth 401ks too. So it really depends on what that looks like. And I would say this too, if you have random employer retirement accounts out there because you left one employer and you had a new employer, you need to roll those over and accumulate those into one, because there's different break points and different things that you can take advantage of. So for instance, I do that every day. I roll over accounts all the time and put them all together for individuals. And all they have to do is just put into one account instead of, I don't know where my money is, right? We'll sit down. I'll get on the phone with you and we can call them. We can call Fidelity and Principal, Empower, all of them. and figure out where your money is at. And then we actually can roll those over. And that's very intelligent. You need to roll that over. And if you need help with that, let me know. I'll do it all the time.
You know, one thing you said I think is very good is that we have to remember it's our money. And back to what Rose said, people are intimidated to even ask about your money. You do not have to be intimidated to ask about, I want to know where my money is. Tell me where my money is. So never be intimidated because it is your money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think was there another one?
Did you get finished with Jamie's
Yep,
question?
I think Jamie, let me know if I did not answer that for you. But yep, so there's different types of, there's a traditional 401k and there's a Roth 401k. Each of those are tax structured differently. So you got pre-tax, post-tax. So we can talk about it. Okay. If you need me to kind of sit in and look at that statement, I can audit that for you.
All right. A lot of good information here, a lot of good questions. Denai says, how do you feel about ETFs, exchange traded funds? Are they better than mutual funds, or about the same? Very good questions.
Honestly, a mutual fund compared to another mutual fund is not the same. Okay. And so ETFs to mutual funds can be about very similar, but from ETF to ETF are, again, it can be different. It depends on how that ETF was structured. Are we talking about specific indexes? Are we talking about specific industries? It really depends. Are they similar? About similar, yes. Are they the same? A mutual fund to a mutual fund is different, right? So it really depends on the structure of how that mutual fund or ETF was created, and then who is the portfolio manager as well. Because a lot of those mutual funds and different exchanges and hedge funds are actually created and managed differently. And so all of that matters. Are they similar? Just about. Yep. Bitcoins is not my Rose. Maxie said, can you elaborate on Bitcoin? When it comes to Bitcoin, listen, me and Bitcoin are not the best of friends. And that's because, again, I'm a fiduciary, right? So it's not regulated just yet. I know it may be coming down the pipeline, but since it's not here yet, it's something that I am not 100% legal to talk about as fiduciary. I would say this though, follow Bitcoin and what it's doing in the market. Stay up on your news and your intelligent news. That means follow the media that is speaking specifically to finance. Okay, not general media, right? So that's why I said follow Yahoo Finance, follow Moody, get into those different literatures that are specifically on finance and Bitcoin. Make sure you understand how it works, the mining, make sure you understand the close in, make sure you understand how it works, because again, that's how we get trapped and that's how we get scammed. Okay. There were several different cryptocurrencies that were created and several of them that are not here anymore. Okay. And there's people that lost money. There's people that gained money. Okay. So definitely make sure you follow up on the different intelligent media outlets that are actually speaking to Bitcoin. The reason why, as a fiduciary, it's hard for us to speak to Bitcoin is because it's not regulated yet. And so I'm pretty sure it may be coming down. I'm not for sure, but we'll figure it out. As soon as it does, guess what? We'll add that to our toolkit.
You know, and I guess the question to that too is that, you know, I have heard that the president is kind of focusing on going to make some change when it comes to Bitcoin. So I guess the question is, again, you know, you're taking a risk, but hearing things coming down the pipeline, you know, you could almost say, well, maybe this might be a good time, but it's a risk. It's a high risk. But if it's coming down the pipeline, you listen to credible sources, is this a good time? Maybe this is a good time. Maybe it's not a good time. But I guess I have to ask the individual what is up to them to determine that.
So wait, what's the question?
No, I'm saying, you know, I'm hearing, like you said, you have to make sure your sources are credible. the Bitcoin
Absolutely.
president is going to push that, and we know that if he pushes it, a lot of his people are going to follow it. So I'm saying now there's a possibility it's going to happen. It's a high risk. It's a chance you take, and investing. There are risks involved. So could this possibly be a
Absolutely.
good time to say, hey, I'm hearing things. I'm hearing more and more. Maybe this is the best time, because once it starts rolling, steamrolling, then the price of everything is going to go up. So would this be a good time to take a chance?
I got you. Yep. You know what? With any investment, it is going to have some kind of risk to it, right? And we kind of spoke about that a little bit earlier. Low, low return, low risk. Low risk, low return. You got high risk, high return. So a lot of times it can be it all has risks. You just need to understand what the risks are. And as a financial advisor, we will sit down and we will talk about this, because I will give you the pros and the cons. I am not a salesperson. Regina cannot even sell. Listen, I can't even sell the clothes I got on, y'all. I can't. It's something that I just can't do. That being said, a fiduciary should always be able to give you the pros and cons. Again, it's our legal right to do so, because we have to make sure that you understand what you are getting into, understand the risks, what are involved. This is this. And then let's make an educated decision together.
Right,
It's a
right.
very good point.
Jamie says, why do you have trouble adding to your stock and 401k after retirement from you? Now, Regina is on top of it, because you are one question ahead of me. Before I get the question, you've already read the question, so you're on it. So that's what Jamie's question is.
So yeah, so if you can no longer contribute to your 401k K from your previous job because it was tied to your previous employer, and once you leave that job, you can only roll it over into, say, an IRA, or maybe a new employer plan from wherever you work at your new job, because you no longer have that tie with them. A lot of times when you leave your previous job, they should actually reach out to you and say, hey, these are your options with this retirement fund. Do you want to cash out? Do you want to take the penalties? Do you want to pay taxes? Or do you want to cash out? Do you want to take partial? Do you want to roll over? What do you want to do? They should be giving you that option. And if they are not giving you that option, then go ahead and make the effort and initiative to contact them and say, what are my options? I've sat on several different phone calls with several different lovely clients of mine, and had to have that conversation with the previous employer, whoever the fund manager was. A lot of our jobs are holding like Fidelity Funds, or Empire, or Principal, and that's okay. I've done several rollovers. Let's get it done and just kind of take care of that. Those that are retired, I'll tell you this: a lot of people have complicated retirements, right? So I have military. I have some government, right, funds, and those are two separate things. Um, Military, as a civilian, government civilian as well, and then I have private sector, and so all of those
That's
can be
good.
a little frustrating. Some people have pensions, some people have perf, some people have state. It's all kinds of different things that happen. So what I do is I actually look at those statements, make sure I understand how that fund was structured. Was it pre-tax, post-tax, traditional, Roth? Because we need to figure out how we can roll that over for you. And then that's not it. It's not just a rollover. Now we have to do a distribution plan, because now we have to figure out, how do we get you the money in a retirement, right? You don't just put all your money into a 401k and then when you retire, take all your money out. Oh no, now we have a whole different issue. So we have to figure out, how do we use some market money, but how do we use non-market money, right? A lot of people are scared to talk about annuities. People are scared to talk about insurance and life insurance in your retirement. How do you use those? How do you leverage those? Right? You should be talking about all of your assets all in one. Okay, not just your 401k. Let's talk about all of it. How do we get all of the different retirement options and get a good distribution plan? Because distribution can also hurt you too if we don't do it right.
For sure. Okay, Rose says, what happens to your investment if they are rolled into a will?
I'm not for sure if I understand correctly. I'm trying to kind of digest that a little bit. When you say if they aren't rolled over into a will, so a will is not necessarily a legal document. Um, it doesn't always skip probate. So it's good to have a beneficiary listed on your investments. So if something were to happen to you, your investments are already deemed for that next person. The other thing you can do too is you can talk to an estate attorney, and the estate attorney will actually make sure that either you have some kind of legal wrap, maybe a trust, and there's several different types of trusts. Okay. So, and I work with state attorneys because of that reason, because I will have the money management and the investments and all the things over here, and the state attorney created the trust, and now we have to work together to combine those and figure out how do we connect those two. And there's several different ways to do that. And so, Rose, we would need to sit down and have like a very detailed conversation about that to make sure that we understand what's going on there.
Very good. Listen, there's some very good questions on tonight. We appreciate each and every one. We appreciate Miss Regina being on here. She gave you some very, very valuable information. Take heed to that. And if you didn't get enough information, she has her email and website, how you can contact her. Please give her a call. I'm sure she could give you a lot more information. We were just limited to an hour, and she just gave you tidbits of information.
Oh, it's so much to unpack.
I know it's a lot. It's a lot of information, but you did a very good job. We commend you. You did a tremendous job in breaking it down for us. That I think the majority of those listening, and there are a lot of people that listen that don't respond. So, and so again, I want to ask you, those who are watching, please share, because each week I get a lot of people who will inbox me or tell me, I saw the program. I said, well, you didn't respond. I wanted to ask this right here. I didn't. So there are a lot of people that watch it. So feel free, even after the program's over, to ask questions on the message. Continue to ask questions, and if we're able to respond back, I'm sure she'll be more than happy to respond back to the answer. Thank you once again. Okay, let me see, Rose. We'll let this be our final question. Rose said, thanks for all this great information for free, Miss Regina, and it's my turn. There you go. It's your turn for sure. But very, very valuable. Knowledge is power. And
absolutely.
It's so powerful. I think every question on here was very valid question, very good question, and I think you handled the question very well. So I want to give you a last chance if you want to make a statement or anything before we dismiss. Don't forget, on next week, this entire month, we're dealing with health and wellness. We're going to have Dr. Leonard Scott's going to be on here on next week, and well, he has his hands so many things. He can talk about business, Ty Scott Records, or he can talk about dentistry or pastoring. But you don't want to miss that on next week as we continue to deal with our subjects of financial wellness as well as dealing with our health. But Ms. Regina, if there's some final statement of closing you'd like to share with us.
Absolutely. So I wanted to give a couple stats, and I think that it's just appropriate to do so. And thank you so much, Dr. Walton, for even having It's My Turn Now.
You're welcome.
One of the things I wanted to just make sure it kind of hits home. We were talking about investments. We were talking about just understanding retirement and things of that nature. But it's about wealth, and it's about legacy, and it's about building that for our communities, not just for us, but for the next generation. Okay. And that next generation doesn't necessarily have to be a 16-year-old. It could be a 20-year-old, a 40-year-old, right? Some of us are retired, thank God. But it's some that are coming behind us that need to hear like, hey, you need to get your act together in your 40s. So that being said, I wanted to just put this stat out there. 44% of Black families have retirement savings compared to 65% of white families. Okay. And that's from the Federal Reserve in 2022. There is some major differences and gaps between our Black families and our other counterparts, right? And according to the Federal Reserve, the median net worth of Black households is only 44,000, okay, which is significantly lower than that of white households at 285,000. It is not all investments, though. There's so many different assets and so many different tools to help us build a good legacy, and we are so afraid to do so.
Right.
And that is okay. But just make sure you still take the step to talk to somebody so you can get you together. And once you get together, share the knowledge, pass it on to somebody else. And then not only that, make sure whatever financial advisor you work with can also work in multi generations, meaning they can work with retirees, they can work with pre retirees, and they can work with professionals who are fully working, and they can work with juniors. Okay. Because all of that needs to be handled so we can actually close that wealth gap. And that is my ultimate purpose. I told you something earlier. I grew up on the far east side of Indianapolis, and I say that with pride. I said with pride because here I am trying to make a difference and going back to my community to say, hey, it is a selfish goal of mine to make sure that I help other families. And it's not just at what we think is low class. It happens in the mid class group,
Right.
and it happens at the high class group. These high class groups are good professionals, ITs, surgeons. They're making really good money. However, they don't know how to manage it. We're overspending. We're doing a lot of different consumerism stuff, and we're still having issues at 6 figures and 7 figures. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have business owners that are doing so much in the community and making really good money, but they're buying 10, 12 cars. And then we have family members that are working for us and maybe stealing money. It's a whole lot going on. At the end of the day, it's not just the lower class that has the wealth gap, it's at the upper class too. So I'm gonna get
Okay.
off my high horse. As you can
You
see, I
know,
have a passion for my community. But
yeah.
if you ever want to just sit down and have a conversation, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's talk through it. Let's see how we can help with this wealth gap. Let's see what we can do with investments. Let's see what we can leverage in any other assets to help you win. Um, that's my website for sure. Go to the website, check it out. It's legit. And then also you can email me at regina.warren@nm.com. And then you can always text me as well. Here, let me give you my text number so you can text me as well. And I give this out freely because when I'm dealing with people's money, it's money. And people they want answers on their money. So I don't mind giving out a cell phone number. Let me give you 1 second as I get this cell phone number up. All right. So it's 317-733-4973. And it's 317-733-4973. And I will tell you this, each person is different. We can actually sit down and just have a conversation. Some of us are retired. Some of us are coming home retirement. Some of us are professionals. Some of us are making 6 figures, 3 figures, whatever. I work with kids too. So it doesn't matter. I'm on a mission, and that mission is to close the wealth gap at all levels.
All right. Very good. I'm going to tell a story. Years ago, I was working at Porter Paint Company as assistant manager. A gentleman, he said, sir, he said, I'd like you. I'm moving out of town. There's a building downtown. He said, I'll sell it to you for $10,000. I had the money. I was afraid to invest in. He said, it's worth a lot more, but I just like you, and I want to help you out. I did not buy it. It's worth over $1 million now. Over $1 million.
And that's the fear and anxiety we was just talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just haven't think about that, and I can kick myself to this day, and
Yeah.
he's trying to do me a favor.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Now I'm going to say
Yep.
something here. Normally, this is on my face time, but I was doing some things with my.
Okay.
I was doing some things with it, and I realized it's my turn now. With Norman, each week is on my Facebook because I was trying to find him on
Oh,
Facebook. So
okay.
it's my turn now. Somehow it got switched. So because I'm trying to figure out why I didn't see it on my regular Facebook, but we have so many savvy people on here. Somebody figured out that it's my turn now, but normally it's on my
Oh,
Facebook. So and that's normally where it's at. So it kind of switches a little bit. So, but again, thank
okay. Oh, we can
Thank
share it. We can share it to those
you.
pages, so it's not a
Yeah,
big problem.
we'll share. So thanks each and every one of you again for joining this week's episode. It's my turn now. Thank you, Warren. So much information. I will say this right here. She's a living example that there's the sky is the limit. She shared with us her beginnings, 42nd and post, and you see what she's doing. She's doing some great things. Also, with the grace of God, God's given her His favor, and she's doing some great things. So continue to support her, and the information there is up to you. It's your turn to make. It's your turn now to make the next move.
Absolutely.
Thank you again. Love y'all. Don't forget to share. See you next week for next week's episode of It's My Turn Now.